Ever since I was younger, I had a fascination with mysteries. The obscure, the unsolved, and the unknowable. From interesting to disturbing, harmless to dangerous. Join me as I uncover rabbit holes and track down information on a plethora of topics you may know little about. This is Atlas Investigates. There, how's that look? Is this goofy enough? So, as you might have guessed based on the intro, I'm Atlas, and I'm in my investigator getup right now. Hope this is goofy enough for you. In explanation, I would say that this is the inaugural episode of this little series I've been brainstorming. This time around, we'll be taking a look at the Amber Iceberg. This image was posted a few months ago on the Ambermains subreddit by users Nitrotome, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and Algo Indie, or Algo Indie. Again, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. I've actually had contact with Algo Indie himself. He and I had a pretty lengthy Discord call where he went over the iceberg with me, like the entire thing. He explained a few niche topics and in-jokes, and provided me with a lot of new information that I wouldn't have been able to uncover myself. So, big shout out to him for helping me put this together. In any case, Amber is a character from the game Genshin Impact, which I'm certain everybody has heard of at this point, whether you love it or hate it. I've been playing it for quite a while now, casually. I'm not a whale or anything like that. Amber is one of the starter characters and therefore isn't considered very powerful, but there are plenty of people that gravitate toward her and invest heavily into her, allowing her to, in some cases, compete with or even outperform characters that are seen as better or more meta to play. If you don't know, or if you've been living under a rock or just haven't been on the internet in the past year or so, an iceberg image is a diagram of information about a person, thing, event, or anything, really. The further down the iceberg you go, the more the bits of information become obscure, dark, or even disturbing. Let's dive in. Tier 1. Starting off Tier 1 is Outrider. This is Amber's title in the Knights of Favonius, the organization that keeps the peace and sometimes governs the city of Mondstadt. As the one and only outrider in the organization, her job is that of a scout, traveling out in the wilderness and seeking to protect the city and its people from potential dangers before they even become apparent. This is how she meets the Traveler, who's the player character. Outriders champion steak. Each character you can get in the game has a special dish they can cook. These dishes are variant versions of the standard recipes and come with their own bonus efforts and slightly different art. Amber's dish is the Outriders Champion Steak! Included. This is a variant of the steak dish, and it revives a character and restores 10% of their maximum health, then restores an additional 150 HP. Unfortunately, it seems Amber isn't a great cook, as the description states, Amber's specialty. One side is obviously undercooked. The other side gives off a subtle scent of something burnt. Close your eyes and have a big mouthful, just to keep Amber happy if nothing else. Amber VTuber model. This is in reference to a VTuber model of Amber. If you don't know what a VTuber is, they are a person who streams or creates videos, but instead of showing their face, they'll use the 3D or 2D model of a character in their place, usually in the anime art style, and usually a girl. In a few promotional trailers, you can see MiHoYo, or HoYoverse now, using motion capture and a full-body VTuber avatar of both Amber and Barbara, another character, to advertise the game. I also managed to find a different avatar that was posted by user Bladed6 on the rather notorious website DeviantArt. In the description of the post, they say that access to the model will be given if you join their Discord server. In addition to Amber, they seem to have created VTuber models for a variety of other Genshin Impact characters. Gliding Champion. This is a title Amber holds that is referenced in a few of her voice lines and lore quotes. She holds the title of Gliding Champion of Mondstadt thanks to her skill and speed when competing in gliding tournaments. She has at least 3 consecutive wins. This is also the name of one of Amber's passive skills, which decreases gliding stamina consumption for your own party members by 20%. Bwap. Bwap is a YouTuber with around 776,000 subscribers who uploads videos mostly centered around Genshin Impact, but branches out to other games as well. He's a self-described Amber main, though he doesn't seem to really be in the community. He has posted videos such as when a level 90 Amber main plays bullseye balloons, in which he demonstrates his aim by using Amber to beat a shooting challenge that occurred during the Windbloom Festival event. Another Amber-focused video of his was titled, How I Beat the Child Boss with the Worst Bow. As the title of the video states, he fights Child using Amber equipped with the Hunter's Bow, a 1-star weapon. The Child video has reached over 1 million views, while the Windbloom video has reached around 911,000 views. Eula. Eula is a 5-star character in Genshin Impact that was released in version 1.5 of the game. Through voice lines, Eula's character trailer, and her story quest, it's clear that she and Amber are close friends. Amber is one of the few people in Mondstadt that cares about Eula, and is outwardly close with her, despite her heritage from the Lawrence family, which the people of Mondstadt despise. The fandom being what it is, Amber and Eula are a popular ship pairing. Sticky Honey Roast. This is the dish that Amber treats the Traveler and Paimon to after they help her clear out a Hilichurl camp. It's also her favorite food. Hold Cancel. According to the Amber Mains subreddit, in Genshin Impact there are 2 ways to go into aimed mode. You can toggle aimed mode by pressing your aim button, R on PC by default, or you can hold your attack button down. For hold canceling, you will want to use the latter and hold your attack button down to do this technique. Start by holding your attack button down until you get into your aimed mode. Once you're in your aimed mode, let go of your attack button and this will fire an attack. Immediately hold your attack button down after the arrow has been fired and repeat the previous steps over and over until the enemy is defeated. This allows for rapid-fire aim shots, which deal more damage and allow freer character movement. It's a very common technique in order to get more damage out of Amber and other bow characters as well. Tier 2. 5-star Outrider. This is the name of Amber's original outfit, the superior one. The new one, created to appease Chinese censorship laws, is called 100% Outrider. The outfit's name is, of course, ironic, given that Amber is a 4-star character and is constantly labeled as one of the weakest and not well-designed characters in the game. While not confirmed, this seems to be part of a trend where MiHoYo, or Hoyoverse, seems to poke fun at Amber's status. Charged Shot DPS. This is one of the possible builds that makes Amber viable. This method focuses on boosting Amber's weak spot and pyro damage, and is how I personally play her. You want to boost pyro damage because this is the damage type that her charged shots deal, and you want to boost weak spot damage because that's the spot on an enemy where the bow will do the most damage. Having a cryo character in your team is also essential to this build, as Amber will cause the melt reaction on enemies affected by cryo, greatly increasing her damage. A Sweet Smile. This is Amber's theme music in the game. Take a listen. Rin Tai Cho. Rin Taicho, I think that's how you pronounce the name, is a YouTuber and apparently VTuber who makes Genshin Impact content and is currently sitting at around 189,000 subscribers. Compared to Bwap, she is much more active in the community and frequently makes videos with the character. Even her channel banner features a stylized version of herself dressed in Amber's outfit. She has completed several challenges and showcased builds and team compositions, among other things. Baron Bunny. The Baron Bunny is Amber's elemental skill. It's a throwable, stuffed bunny that slightly resembles Amber. After throwing it, it creates a taunt that attracts enemies toward it. After a few seconds, it explodes and deals pyro damage, as well as generating elemental particles. Bunny Bombing. Bunny Bombing is another Amber build. In this build, you want to focus on doing as much damage as possible with your Baron Bunny. You can do this by leveling your elemental skill up, building your pyro damage, and building your elemental mastery. Roof posters. I believe this refers to the missing person posters that you can find all around Mondstadt after completing a certain part of the main story quest there. They were set in place by Amber, and several can be found in extremely high places, such as on the city wall and on the tops of buildings. Odds are that no normal citizen would ever see these, but it's endearing that Amber went the extra mile nonetheless. Cryo/Hydro shield breaking. Amber is adept at taking care of the elemental shields that Abyss mages and some Fatui members put up. Cryo is obvious, as Pyro is the counter to it in most situations. Amber's Charged Shot, Elemental Skill, and Elemental Burst, especially her Burst, can all be used to quickly take down the shield. She can also do this with Hydro Shields, but it's not quite as effective. Tier 3. Sharpshooter's Oath. The Sharpshooter's Oath is a 3-star bow and is actually considered one of the best bows you can use on Amber. While its stats aren't quite as good as a 4 or 5-star weapon, its main stat is crit damage, which is always good and will add to her charged shot damage if she hits an enemy's weak point. The weapon's effect is called Precise, and it increases damage against weak spots by 48% at Refinement 5. It's obviously good for a charged shot build. Slingshot. The Slingshot is another 3-star bow and is, like the Sharpshooter's Oath, considered a viable weapon for Amber. Again, a 3-star isn't as good as a 4 or 5-star in terms of raw damage. Its main stat is crit rate, allowing for critical hits to occur more often. The weapon's effect is called Slingshot, and if a normal or charged attack hits a target within 0.3 seconds of being fired, it increases damage by 60%, again at Refinement 5. Otherwise, decreases damage by 10%. This is good for an Amber machine gun build. 893rd. This is referring to the number of Baron Bunnies Amber has made. According to the description of her elemental skill, Amber stopped counting after the 893rd Baron Bunny she made, implying that there are many more after it. Elegy Support. This is a very specific build for Amber. Equipping her with the Elegy for the End 5-star bow turns her into a support character, providing decent damage to assist main DPS characters. Standard Wish. This is one of only 2 ways to get constellations for Amber. When wishing on the standard banner, it is possible to pull Amber, along with the other 2 starter characters, Kaya and Lisa, though it is rare. Kelly Baskin. Kelly Baskin is the English voice actress for Amber. She has, as far as I can tell, been very receptive to the niche her character has carved out in the fanbase, and has also done a few AMAs, or Ask Me Anythings, once on Reddit, and I believe twice on the Amber Discord. Revoked Gliding License. According to Amber's story quest, her gliding license has been revoked a total of 15 times. This is because Mondstadt has very strict rules for gliding, and Amber seems to break them a lot, causing her to lose her license and have to retake the exam. 0.1275%. At the time of this iceberg's creation, this was the percent chance of getting Amber over the course of 10 wishes. Wishes are the gacha system in the game. This number is actually smaller now that there are more 4-star items that have been added. Liyue lineage. Disclaimer, I'm not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing Liyue or Liyue correctly. They do it a couple of different ways in the game. Cut me some slack. Amber's grandfather hailed from Liyue, where he was a mercenary. Later, he was the founder of the Outrider branch of the Knights of Favonius, and also served as a mentor to Eula for a time. In the present, he's missing, having disappeared from Mondstadt just after Amber was accepted into the Knights. His current whereabouts are unknown, and Amber wants to find him. It is unknown if this storyline will be explored any further in the game, but personally, I hope it is. CBT Dance. During the closed beta test of the game, Amber had an idle animation of her doing a fun little dance. Unfortunately, for an unknown reason, this animation was cut from the final version of the game, though you can still find plenty of footage of it on YouTube. I used it in one of my own videos once, if I recall correctly. 500k Bunny. This is the baseline for a very invested bunny bombing build. If you've put effort into this type of build, you should be able to hit this number in combat. This could also be a reference to a clip posted by YouTuber Tony Toe, in which he showcases a 500k Amber nuke using the bunny bomb build. Moon Pie. This is a recipe that can be obtained after you reach Reputation level 7 in Mondstadt. It's a defense-boosting dish, which doesn't seem to have much to do with Amber's playstyle. However, it is the dish that Eula can use to make Stormcrest pie. Amber also has a voice line asking if the player knows how to make a decent moon pie, perhaps because it's a basic Mondstadt dish that she struggles to cook, or because it has some connection to Eula. Wolfhook Juice. This is actually Amber's least favorite food. She mentions that she finds cold wolfhook juice disgusting in one of her voice lines. Bunny Mining. This seems to be a reference to the fact that Baron bunnies can be used to mine ores. The explosions they cause upon detonation will deal considerable damage to solid ores, causing them to be destroyed and turned into harvestable chunks. There is also a meme that Amber can do anything in the game because her kit allows for it. Sniping, mining, gliding, good swimming, etc. Amber Solo. This refers to any challenge or video in which people use only Amber against a certain challenge room, boss, or difficult area in order to flex their builds or strategies. Amber PvP. It is technically possible to fight other players in co-op using Amber. Because her charged shots cause grass to burn, it is possible for players to stand in a grassy area and shoot the ground with her arrows, causing it to get set on fire and burn one another. This is usually done with players on low health in order to speed up combat. Tier 4. The Gospel of Amber. This is another name for Amber's Handbook, a Google document written by Hatsuhara Fag, aka Hatsuhara or Hatsu, and others. The link is floating around on Reddit and Kuching Mains, a popular theory crafting site. According to the notes in the document, it is currently under heavy revision to account for the present build of the game, and isn't quite finished being updated at the time of this recording. Still, there is plenty of information and advice on builds, equipment, and team compositions in there. Drunk Amber. During the party at the end of Jean's story quest, you can interact with Amber, who appears to be more exuberant than usual and muttering to herself. Paimon wonders if Amber is drunk. Am bored. This is a Google Doc leaderboard of various speed runs and challenges people have done with Amber, listing who completed what challenge, what equipment they used, how fast they did it, etc. You have been kicked. This is a reference to the fact that many Amber mains have apparently been kicked from co-op games because the person they were matched with believed Amber to be a useless character that wouldn't be of any help. It doesn't quite happen as often nowadays as far as I understand it, though I don't usually participate in co-op too much myself. However, this was something I would always see screenshots of like a couple of months or a year ago. but it doesn't seem to be happening as frequently now. Second Pyro Archer released on her birthday. The Inazuma character Yoimiya, the second Pyro Archer, was released on Amber's birthday. This could be miHoYo, Hoyoverse, poking fun at Amber, as I mentioned earlier, or it could just be a coincidence, which is doubtful in my opinion. Discord.gg/Amber. This one's fairly self-explanatory. It's the Discord server that belongs to the Amber main subreddit. It can be accessed via the links section of the subreddit's main page. Amber Hangout. Many 4-star characters in Genshin Impact have hangout events, small story quests that play out in a choose-your-own-adventure type format. Amber, however, does not have one yet, despite many requests from the community for there to be one. Amber High. This is an emote on the Discord. When people join the server, you can see them do it live, because the message appears in the general channel. When new people join, members will often put up this emote as a welcome to newcomers. There's also an inverse emote called Amber Bye that people post when someone leaves. Tummy Skin. Some players want Amber's costume from the prequel manga to be available in the game. You can see why. Personally, I find its inclusion to be very unlikely given China. Stormcrest Pie. This is Eula's special dish. A variation of Moon Pie, this dish increases all party members' shield strength by 40% and defense by 282 for 300 seconds. I have to assume it's only on this iceberg because of its connection to Eula. Same with Moon Pie earlier. Kallai. Now that 3.0 is out, everyone is familiar with Kallai. Prior to her being in Sumeru, she was a manga-only character. She was in Mondstadt for a time after escaping the clutches of the Fatui, and she spent a lot of time bonding with Amber. The two are still pen pals and very close friends. Amber Pyro Shield. This is another reference to the prequel manga, during which Amber creates a pyro shield using her vision, despite not being able to do this in-game. 250k CA. CA stands for Charged Attack. With high investment into a charged shot build, you can hit 250k damage with a weak point shot. This requires a very invested Amber, as well as a few buffs, but it's possible. Bunny Geoshield Breaking. Similar to Bunny Mining, it is possible to use the explosion generated by the Baron Bunny to deal damage to and break Geo shields as they crumble under explosions, heavy force, and Geo damage. Tier 5. Environment Exploits. With a lot of Amber solo content, you have to exploit the environment in order to beat enemies. Sometimes using the environment to avoid attacks, wear down pyro shields, or otherwise damage opponents that Amber isn't normally used against because she doesn't efficiently damage them, such as enemies with pyro shields. Gatling Gun Amber. This is another Amber build. This involves maximizing her physical damage and using hold canceling instead of her auto attacks to deal the majority of her damage. Real Pyro Archon. This refers to the joke / conspiracy theory that Amber is the real Pyro Archon in the game. Similar jokes have been made about the character Bennett because of how good he is, but this is a bit different. The oldest post I could find that references this is from user Ambara Forever on the Ambermain subreddit on, funnily enough, April 1st, 2021. On April 10th, a video was uploaded to YouTube by a user called Blue Ivy called Amber is the Pyro Archon, which shows her being used in the Battlefront Misty Dungeon event to deal a maximum of 54,000 damage using charged shots with the help of Diona and Mona. You can find many more posts jokingly giving Amber the title of Pyro Archon, usually when the user has crafted an especially powerful build for the character and is showing it off. Shield Transparency Update. The reduced visibility of shields in update 2.5 or 2.4 so that it became easier to aim when the shield was up. Prior to this, it was hard to see when aiming because the shield was colored so brightly. Oath Headshot ASMR. There is a unique sound associated with the Sharpshooter's Oath's weapon effect, which is triggered when hitting a weak point, usually a headshot. Calling it ASMR is just a joke, as some people find the sound satisfying. Aim X/Y ratio. Horizontal movement is faster than vertical movement in Genshin Impact, in terms of, like, moving the mouse or whatever in order to shift the camera. The horizontal movement is faster. This makes it hard to aim at enemies that are close to you, especially Ruin Guards and Mid-Eterals. In 3.0, a sensitivity slider was added in order to make this easier on players. You can adjust it now in the settings. 5%/270%. This is the version of the charged shot build that players often aim for, at least in a team composition based around the melt reaction. Weak point hits with a bow are always critical hits, so crit rate isn't taken into account. Because crit rate doesn't matter, the player can put all their focus into crit damage, meaning every weak point strike does massive damage, even if most other attacks never crit. It's not always optimal to go for, but the numbers it can output are impressive. Oath greater than Harp. In some situations, the 3-star Sharpshooter's Oath provides better performance for Amber than the 5-star Skyward Harp. Amber is commonly built around charged shot damage or burst damage, which the Skyward Harp won't help with. While it's good for a machine gun build because of its physical damage substat, or a bunny bombing build because of its effect, the Sharpshooter's Oath raises crit damage by 46.9% and damage against weak spots by 48% at Refinement 5, meaning that its damage against single targets skyrockets. At the end of the day, this comes down to your own personal build preference. A4 Proc Sound. At Ascension Level 4, Amber gains the passive talent Precise Shot. This talent causes any arrow that hits an enemy's weak spot to increase her attack by 15% for 10 seconds. There's a specific sound associated with this activation. Many people don't really notice it. I didn't notice it before this iceberg, but it's there. Overload Bunny Detonation. If you have C2 Amber, you can remotely detonate the Baron Bunny by shooting its foot with an arrow. However, this can also be triggered if you shoot a nearby enemy that is affected by Electro. This is considered a manual detonation and adds extra damage to the explosion. Tier 6. Cryo-Infused Bunny. This seems to refer to two possible sources. The first was posted on May 11th, 2021, and it's a video on the Amber main subreddit posted by user grizzly_228. It informs people that the Baron Bunny can be infused with cryo and be a powerful tool for destruction. The second video, posted on May 15th, 2021, is by FreePunk, and it shows how he infuses the bunny with cryo before using an Animo Traveler's Burst to spread the damage out in a powerful tornado before the bunny explodes, dealing pyro damage to frozen enemies and getting the melt damage boost. Bunny Infinity Roll. This refers to a trick that can be done in certain places with the Baron Bunny. For example, if you position Amber near an alchemy table and use the bunny, she will throw it directly in front of her. The bunny will roll in the air before hitting the ground, but when it lands on the crafting table, it won't stand up, causing it to roll for an indefinite amount of time. Though it will usually just fall to the ground after a few seconds. It's very tricky to get it to align perfectly on the geometry so that it rolls for an extended period of time. Amber God. A lot of people tend to say this when they encounter a really good Amber in co-op. This exact wording. It happens a lot. Maybe you've seen it. Stone Forest Ruin Guard Challenge. This is a challenge in which a player attempts to use Amber to beat the Ruin Guards in the Guyun, I apologize, the Guyun Stone Forest area. This is a difficult challenge as the area is full of 4 Ruin Guards and 1 Ruin Hunter. The player is only allowed to use Amber, cannot use healing items or buffs, cannot get hit by a single attack, and must complete the challenge in 3 minutes. The only video I could find of this challenge was actually posted by Rin Taicho, who we discussed earlier, showcasing her win on the challenge. Prototype Croissant. This seems to be just a meme name for the Prototype Crescent, a craftable 4-star bow obtainable in the game that is a good pick for a charged shot amber build. There is an emote of this name in the Discord. Qingce Challenge. This refers to the secret room in the Qingce village, where the player must defeat several ruin guards and a ruin hunter. In order to complete this challenge with only amber, you are not supposed to take any damage, and neither is the floating orb you have to protect. This makes an already difficult challenge even harder. E-Ember. This refers to a meme build for Amber that utilizes her Elemental Mastery stat, referred to in shorthand as EM. Building this stat causes the damage dealt by reactions such as Melt, Overload, and Vaporize to become more powerful. It's not super useful, but you can do some funny stuff with it. 3 bunnies. It is possible to have 3 Baron bunnies out at the same time. Amber's 4th constellation gives her the ability It's Not Just Any Doll, which decreases the cooldown for the explosive puppet skill and gives it a second charge, meaning you can deploy 2 Baron bunnies at the same time. However, because the cooldown is decreased, it's possible to put a 3rd bunny on the field before the first one explodes. This is possible with the Gambler Artifact set, which decreases the cooldown on a character's elemental skill. Bunny Tornado. This was touched on a little bit in the Cryo-Infused Bunny entry from a little earlier. A similar strategy was used there. The Bunny Tornado requires Amber to throw out a Baron Bunny near some enemies. Then, the Traveler is required to use their Anemo Burst. The tornado created by the burst will collect the bunny and any enemies around them, dealing Anemo damage and, once the bunny explodes, pyro damage as well, creating a deadly whirlwind. This was actually one of my favorite strategies when I first started playing. Scales with PS. This is a meme. It says that Amber scales with player skill, hence the abbreviation PS. She gets better when you have more skill at the game and do more damage with her. Her stats don't matter as much as actual player skill does. Tier 7. Corrupted Vision. This is another reference to the prequel manga. In it, Amber gets into a tough spot with Kali. During this encounter, Amber's vision changes slightly, and it seems to be implied that Kali is somehow boosting her power. This has never been explained and hasn't been referenced since. The Real Amber Hangout. This refers to the Ask Me Anything sessions held by Kelly Baskin on the Discord and the Reddit. Since no Amber Hangout exists in-game, this is the closest people are going to get for now. Amber Q 18 Waves. This explains how Amber's burst attack works. Q is the button pressed on PC keyboards to activate a character's burst. When Amber does her burst, she shoots arrows into the sky, which rain down on a specific target in a highlighted area. There are about 18 waves of hits, which is what this item is referring to. Out of those 18 waves, only about 8 are able to cause reactions due to the cooldown implemented on them. Baron Flex. This is a cursed meme emote in the Discord. Amber Gigachad. Another cursed meme emote in Discord. Quad Vape. Quad Vaporize is a move that Amber can pull off with her burst. It used to be that she could only do this with Xingqiu, but now that Yelan has been released, it's possible with her as well. To execute this move, Xingqiu will activate his burst, then switch to Amber, who will fire her burst on a target, then switch back to Xingqiu, who uses his skill on the target, triggering several vape reactions. It's best to use this move if Amber is equipped with the Elegy for the end. Everything buffs Amber. This is a running joke that every change in the game somehow buffs Amber, even if they aren't specifically designed to, which in most cases they aren't. Reduced shield transparency, Amber buff. Added pale flame set, Amber buff. Triple Crown Domino. This is a meme image illustrating the domino effect. A Discord member posts that they triple crowned Amber. Nitro Tome gets pinged, despite not being able to give out the triple crown roll. Then Papa90 gets pinged. He's the admin of the Discord. And he tells the person who triple crowned to DM him. Finally, after they do so and provide him with proof, the person gets the triple crown roll. Abyss Viable. A meta statement. This item explains that Amber is viable in Genshin Impact's only endgame content, the Spiral Abyss. As long as you build her properly and give her the right team, you can clear the Abyss and get the rewards. Perhaps not as easily as you would have if you'd used 5-star characters with crazy kits and stats, but you'll be able to do it nonetheless. Even when not a main DPS, she's still good for crowd control. Support Ganyu. Ganyu, often referred to as Cryo Amber, works well with Amber as a support. While most players use her as an extremely powerful charged shot DPS, she can be outfitted for support as well. Her elemental skill can apply cryo and group enemies up, allowing Amber to take them out with melt reactions. Her burst or charge shots. She's actually the best support for Amber when using energy recharge as a main stat. It also it makes a lot of other players weirded out because Ganyu is so universally accepted as an extremely powerful character, and to outfit her for support for someone like Amber is insane to many people. Tier 8. Dragon Strike Bunny. This seems to refer to the fact that the Baron Bunny can be used to assist in the Dragon Strike technique, in which a player can cause a character to gain enough air when jumping to enter into a plunging attack when they normally wouldn't be able to. This is possible with both Xingqiu and Diluc. Shinshin.moe was made to flex Amber. Shinshin.moe is a player card generator that people use to showcase builds. It takes screenshots of your stats and allows you to chop them up and piece them together in a single image along with a picture of the character in question. Its original purpose was to showcase a powerful Amber build. Given how many times she's featured in the trailer and on the site, it only makes sense. This was actually made by Algo Indie, who helped create this iceberg. He'd gotten tired of splicing all the images together into one in order to showcase a character's build, so he created the site and decided to use Amber in most of the background images and examples. 4 bunnies. This is possible, somehow. Very specific circumstances are required. You need a very high point, because the bunny's detonation timer only begins once it touches the ground. You also need the Gambler set, Fast Skill Cooldown, and C4. It's possible with the Alchemy table as well. Extinguishing Arrows. If a Pyro arrow is charged up and shot while it's raining, or there is a Hydro effect in the air, it will be extinguished, causing it to revert to physical damage, because it just turns into a regular arrow, because the fire gets put out by the water. Recurve Bow Strats. It's the Healing Bow. It's another 3-star weapon with a stat that boosts HP and an effect called Cull the Weak. At Refinement 5, its effect will restore 16% of HP upon defeating an enemy. You can run this to maximize your survival. This is mostly just a meme, but it's actually useful in limited situations, such as the Abyss and during some challenges. TP greater than Amos. This item suggests that the Thundering Pulse 5-star bow is a better bow for Amber than the popular Amos bow. A video by Nitrotome on YouTube compares the Thundering Pulse to the Skyward Harp and Amos bow for charged shot and bunny bomb builds. You usually only get your 2 stacks on the Amos bow's weapon effect, whereas you maximize both of the other bow's effects, making them slightly superior most of the time. Amberger. This is another emote in Discord. And now that the Dendro element has been released, it is used to refer to the Ambergian team, teams that focus around Amber and using the Bergian reaction. Support Child. Child is a 5-star character that is most often used as an on-field damage dealer by players. Similar to Support Ganyu, Child can be kitted out as support for Amber instead of his standard DPS configuration, so that he can set up vaporize reactions for her. It's a very unusual build, but it buffs Amber's charged shot by 1 talent level thanks to Child's unique passive talent. 1 HP bar all boss rush. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's a challenge that forces the player to beat every boss in the game using only Amber, without healing, and as fast as possible. This is, again, a challenge attempted in Update 2.2 by Rin Taicho. Overload Sniping. Shooting something from too far away reduces the damage of a charged shot. However, if you use the Raiden Shogun's elemental skill, you can shoot a charged shot at a faraway target and hit it. This triggers the overload reaction immediately, granting a massive damage boost that can one-shot targets if Amber has sufficient EM. Tier 9. Griefer Amber. This is not a widely known meme. It actually originates from a voice chat session in the Amber mains Discord. During an Amber vs Signora co-op match, Algo Indy used Amber and baited his teammates into dying so that Amber can carry them to victory solo. 4WT plus Rust. This refers to a build for Amber that originates from a specific Reddit post, using the 4-piece Wanderer's Trope artifact set and the Rust bow. The secondary effect of the bow is to boost attack percent by 41.3% at level 90. Its effect is called Rapid Firing, which, at Refinement 5, increases normal attack damage by 80%, but decreases charged attack damage by 10%. The Wanderer's Trope artifact set will, at 4 pieces, boost Elemental Mastery by 80, and increase charged attack damage by 35% if the character is using a catalyst or bow. The effect of the artifact set negates the downside of the weapon effect, essentially boosting almost all of Amber's stats with this build. This is a meme build, as it doesn't commit to just one element of her kit. There are much better, more popular alternatives. Weapon Stance Jumping. This was a bug early in the game where a character with a bow was able to jump while aiming, aka in weapon stance. You're no longer able to do this. This wasn't something that was exclusive to Amber, but just something that you used to be able to do with her kit. Messenger ignores held shields. This is a little-known fact that the 3-star Messenger's bow charged shots actually ignore the wooden and geo shields held by Hilichurls, meaning you can just proc the bow's weapon effect even if the opponent has a shield up. This also ignores the Samurai's block. In all honesty, I can't test this for myself because I don't have a Messenger's bow. They only spawn in Liyue chests and I accidentally used them all for weapon upgrades. C1 100%. In the closed beta test, you could actually level up characters' constellations. The final version of Amber's C1 allowed the second arrow she fires to do the same amount of damage as the first arrow, 100% damage, which is no longer possible in the game. Shop is my only friend. Because Amber constellations are so hard to come by when wishing on the standard banner, many players just decide to save up enough star glitter to buy her constellations when they appear in the Paimon's Bargain section of the shop every few months. It's a long waiting game, but at least it's somewhat consistent. This originated from the user Tim T. R cancel. R canceling is the harder version of hold canceling. In order to do this, you must press the attack button and the aim button, R, on the keyboard, at the exact same time, causing Amber to aim and shoot in the same frame. Then, pressing the attack button again immediately starts up the next attack, allowing you to skip the normal auto-attack animation. This is essentially what is used for Gatling Gun Amber. Messenger Overload Sniping. The Messenger bow is a 3-star bow with a crit damage substat, and an effect that, at Refinement 5, causes charged attack hits on weak spots to deal an additional 200% attack damage as crit damage once every 10 seconds. On a charged shot Amber, this can be a useful effect, especially when paired with the overload reaction, which further increases damage. This is the same as overload sniping, just with the messenger bow. Pyro Shield Breaking. It is possible to break pyro shields with Amber. Enough physical damage dealt to a pyro shield will cause it to break, though this is time-consuming and not very practical. The higher the physical damage dealt by Amber's aimed shots, the faster the shield will break. Tier 10. Pyromage shield crits. Another video posted by Nitrotome on YouTube shows Amber cracking a Pyromage's shield using crit rate bows. The Slingshot, the Skyward Harp, the Viridescent Hunt, and the Royal Bow, all at Refinement 5. Using aimed auto attacks, Amber is able to output enough physical damage to deplete a Pyromage's shield. The bow that did this the fastest was the Royal Bow, though it is still time-consuming and impractical to do in normal combat. Child Amber Comp. This is a rare child mains composition. It's not a particularly good team composition, but you can make it work if you really want to. Equipping Rust for Style. The majority opinion is that the Rust bow is the best on Amber in terms of design. This is one of the worst bows for Amber in terms of technicality, but people run it just because it looks good. 5 bunnies. This is actually impossible to do in-game on your own. It's only possible in co-op, and therefore is just an exaggerative meme to expand upon the 3 bunnies and 4 bunnies entries. Auto-aim CA. When R-canceling, charged attacks don't animate and immediately strike the enemy, doing the same amount of damage in a fraction of the time it would normally take. So essentially, it's auto-aiming as it would when you're normal attacking, except it's doing the damage of a charged attack. Uncapped FPS hold cancel. Genshin Impact's frames per second is usually capped at 60. However, it's possible to uncap this ceiling. In order to do this, you essentially need to hack the game using a script you can find on GitHub. This allows the game to run at an uncapped FPS, making it much smoother for PCs that can handle it. This allows for much faster hold canceling, and therefore, more damage. Blizzard Bombing. Running the Blizzard Strayer set on Amber actually does decent damage in certain situations as freeze teams, as it increases the damage against frozen enemies. It's viable, but it's not very common. Vaporize, Melt, or Shatter. This references the somewhat random application of reactions to frozen enemies. If you don't pay attention to the order in which you apply elements, it can be a little confusing what reaction you're going to get. Melt is the one you want, as the other two do less damage. Messenger Multiproc. Though this feature was removed in Update 1.1, the Messenger Bow used to be able to activate its special ability with any hit, not just one on a weak point. Because Amber's first constellation gives her a second arrow to be fired every time she shoots, this meant that the bow could do twice the amount of damage it was supposed to. No space in inventory for another Outriders Champion stake. Please free up some space and try again. The maximum amount of one food item that can be held in your inventory is 2,000. Characters cooking their special dish isn't guaranteed each time they do it, so the amount of time and resources put into collecting a ton of Outriders Champion stakes is, frankly, staggering. Nitrotome got this message after getting Amber's birthday mail. He had already had the max amount of champion stakes and couldn't take the extra one included in her letter, thus getting this message. 4TF Bunny. This is a build where the Thundering Fury set is equipped on Amber for use with the Baron Bunny. This decreases cooldown and increases overload damage. If you increase Amber's EM, this makes the set more useful. It's not exactly viable, but it's a build nonetheless. It's mostly just for overload memes. Juggles. When headshotting enemies with charged shots, poise damage is dealt, which often knocks them off their feet and into the air. If you hold cancel, it's possible to keep enemies suspended in the air with consecutive hits, hence you're juggling them. It's difficult to pull off, but still can be a little amusing to do. Amber Documentary. A documentary is being made about Amber, mostly by Algo Indie, though there are several others in the community who are involved as well. Honorable mentions. These are all honorable mentions, names of people within the Ambermains community. They're put in here in order to give them a shout out, but since this iceberg is specifically about Amber herself, they weren't included on any specific tier. Still, I encourage you to go and check out their YouTube channels and other related accounts if you want more Amber content. Well, that does it for the first episode of Atlas Investigates. Once again, I'd like to thank the Ambermains Discord and subreddit for helping me track down a few of the more obscure topics, and especially extend my thanks to user AlgoIndie for all his help with the same endeavor. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I post pretty much whatever I want to, which includes a lot of video games and music-related content. If you have a suggestion about what I should investigate next, or you just want to drop some feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you another time.